It is the last quarter of 2025. Like, what? So many of you have done amazing things this year. You really have. And we forget. And October is kind of like a weird month in the sense of, one, I want to remind you, you still have time, but at the same time, not a lot of time. And at the same time, we start planning for 2026, as you know. So I want to welcome to all of my large group coaching people, my one-on-one clients, my small group coaching clients, and then of course my Flow Coaching Club members. So a little bit of housekeeping. I will put the YouTube channel link in the chat so that you have that. Save this to your favorites because this is where I will upload all coaching lessons. Little reminder, if you have not yet, copy my link. Let me put another link in the chat. I will put the Flow Self link there in case you have not gotten your workbook lately. And then I just want to thank you. Let me just check my earbuds because I feel like they just went out. Huh? Maybe not. Will you guys let me know if you can't hear me? You can hear me still, right? Okay, beautiful. I want to thank everybody who's loved on me last week. Your loves, your prayers, your hearts, everything. I certainly appreciate your love as we went through the process, or I'm still going through the process, right? Grieving is really never over. There's lots of lessons of losing my dear friend Cindy after she battled ALS for 5 years. And so an update on that For the Love of Self, as you know, was supposed to be launched last year, and I pulled back the launch. One, I needed to rewrite my dedication to Cindy, as well as I'm adding a portion to it where you're going to learn a little bit more about an incredible, uplifting, unbelievable story about the little bumblebee and something that happened the day after she passed away. And so I needed to add that. So get your flowself.com. I know there's a lot of Flow Self fans here. And so I appreciate your support. Go there to get your download, use the workbook. I just don't have a date yet. I will soon, but we need a little bit of time to reformat it and get that ready and do it, you know, the justice that it deserves, if that makes sense. All right. So let's dig in here. You got your notebook handy? Everybody get your notebook handy, your whiteboard handy, the back of your hand if you don't have a notebook, something, because I'm going to have you write. We're going to write a couple of things today. So, I mean, just a reminder, whenever you're in my space, really my goal is, especially if we have any first timers here, you know, my goal is always to inspire, empower, and promote action, right? That is our mission here at Flow, or For the Love of. My other goal is, especially if you get the opportunity to coach one-on-one or in small group or more intimately, is really, I want to make sure that you find more balance, whatever that means to you, focus, and success without burnout. And so as we dive into today's lesson, which really is very heavily concentrated on production, I want you to keep that in mind, your balance, your focus, so that you can find your success without comparing it to anybody else without burnout. Okay, so here's the number you're going to write down, 52. 52. And then the next numbers you're going to write down is 7 plus 3. 7 plus 3. So 52. Wait, that's how old I am. I didn't even realize that when I came up with that number today. I'm 52. Woohoo! Let's celebrate, right? 52 is the number of days until Thanksgiving. The number of days until Thanksgiving. Get your turkey now. 52. 7 plus 3 is not 10, by the way. 7 plus 3 is 52 days is actually 7 weeks and 3 days. 7 weeks and 3 days. So much about growth is awareness. This is awareness. And those of you that are in small group and one-on-one, we have been talking about this because I want you to think about what it is that you want to accomplish for the next 52 days or the 7 weeks. You still have time. I would not encourage you to pick something brand spanking new, right? I'd be like, okay, what is it when you reflect back on 3/4 of the year, the things that have worked really well for you to reach your production or revenue or income goal and concentrate on that? If you remember at the beginning of 2025, for those of you that were in my space then, when we did our goal setting last year, right, for this year, we talked about a new way of looking at our one-page goal plan, which is our goal, our priorities and strategies. We're going to dig into that in a second. But we talked about what if you were to only have one focus per quarter? Because I believe we're always doing too much more without squeezing the juice out of the one thing. So think about what you had said at the beginning of the year and what really worked for you and what could you really concentrate on. One thing, not everything, for the next 52 days or the next 7 weeks. Or maybe it's only 6 weeks or 5 weeks because you have time off. So for those of you who have already had some group coaching and one-on-one, what I challenged you to do was actually count how many days you're working from now until Thanksgiving. Awareness. Again, it's only awareness because I don't want to discount when we enter this phase of everybody's going to be talking about planning for next year. I don't want to discount that you can still accomplish some things yet this year. The year's not over. And the reason we say Thanksgiving because you're all in sales. Everybody that I coach is either 100% commission, you're solopreneurs, you own your own business, whether you're in real estate, financial advisement, mortgage lending, maybe you own your own photography business. I've got some photographers, I've got a website designer, all these people, right? You're in charge of you. And that's why I say that, because we know by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, we're not depending on that income for the rest of the year. That's everything that already happened, right? Anything that we know we bank after Thanksgiving is icing on the cake. Okay. All right. So that's just a little reminder. You still have time, but this is awareness. All right. So, these are the books where I'm pulling the concepts from. These are the books where I'm pulling the next concepts from. The 12-week year, the 12-week year, the one thing, the one thing. So the 12-week year, the one thing. High performance habits, and atomic habits. So the 12-week year, the one thing, high performance habits, and atomic habits. And if you cannot find any of these, or you don't have any of these and you're really interested, you know where to get me, and I'm happy to share the author or whatever it is you need. Okay. So if you were to think about something to study right now or read or listen to, this is the time of the year to maybe pull out one of those, right? Just pull out one of those, whatever is going to energize you. Okay. And then the weekend podcast that inspired me for today's lesson, as I had explained in my video reminder today, is I actually do prep probably a couple hours for this presentation. And part of it starts with whatever I'm listening to or reading to. Is that if you are interested in the podcast, do me a huge favor, go to Instagram or Facebook and DM me the word habits. And I will send you the link to the Ed Mylett podcast that inspired some of the lessons today as well. Okay. So if you want the weekend podcast that I listened to, it's super, super good. It's all about goals and habits, and it inspired some of the data and the things I'm going to share with you today. Okay. So just DM me the word habits and I'll send you the link. Okay. All right. So we are going to be talking about 2026 planning. no matter how much studying I do, I am still, my favorite thing is the GPS, which is the concept from the one thing. And it's not actually really in the book. It's more on the resources on the onething.com. That's with the number one, the onething.com from the One Thing book. But I really like the GPS. I like it because I like that that stands for a map. I think it's easy to follow. I'll make sure in the recap, right, when I send the recap with the link to the YouTube, that I share my folder of resources. But I want you to think about this. So remember, the G stands for one goal. Your goal needs to be a revenue, whatever revenue means to you. You are in business to make money, period. Don't let anybody tell you anything differently. The revenue goal, or the gross or the net, you get to decide, or the units of sale. Like if I sold t-shirts, right? Then I'd have a unit of sale, so maybe units. And then for some of us, that especially in the lending industry, not the real estate industry, I will not allow you to pick volume. Do not pick volume, realtors, but I will allow my lenders. Lisa, who's here, I know you do volume, right? That's a lending. Most of you, though, not volume. We're doing revenue. You get to decide if it's gross or net and unit or units, okay? Our priorities, remember, our priorities are focuses. That's what we focus on. Or I like to call our priorities, besides the focus, I like to call our priorities our lead gen levers. Where are we actually getting the business to roll up to the revenue? What are those three? And we're only going to have three, right? We got one goal, three priorities, or focuses or lead gen levers. And then under the priorities, a reminder, are our 5 up to. There are no rules. You could have 2. I don't care, right? But no more than 5 strategies under each priority. And I like to call strategies systems, or even actionables or measurables. So that's my expansion on the GPS from what I have learned from utilizing it myself. Okay, here's what I want to encourage you as well. If you have more than one business, I would create a GPS for every business. Some of you own investment properties. Why do you not have a GPS for that, right? You could also create a personal GPS. Now, we don't need to get overwhelmed and have hundreds of GPSs, but the point is this system works for any goal. Okay? All right, so we're going to get a little action oriented. And I know, because you're all high achievers, you probably already slightly know your goal for 2026. Give me a thumbs up. You slightly know. You're like, I'm kind of thinking about it, right? Yep, a little, right? Maybe it's a half thumb, but either way, you slightly know. So a lot of times when I ask my clients, or I'm presenting and I'm like, what's your goal? I'm going to tell you the number one response I get. This is so silly. Double it. And that comes up probably a little bit more with those that are newer in the business. So I went and I did a little research on this, and I thought to myself, okay, if I wanted to have a business, or I wanted to be in my position for the long haul, like what is a long haul strategy, right? Where I want to sustain growth for 10 plus years. Okay. I want to have a healthy business for the long haul. So this is when I did some research, what I found. And I think these are pretty accurate. So if you are in build mode, if you are in business, or one of your income sources is between 1 and 3 years, that'd be me. Think about it. I'm going to be entering my 3rd year or my 4th year coming up. 2022, 3, 4, 5. Oh my gosh, I'll be entering my 4th year. Okay. So 1 and 3 years, the average growth to sustain a business for the long haul that somebody should strive for is 30 to 50%. Okay, so when somebody says they want to double their business, that means that's 100% growth. Now, let's just say you're in real estate and you sold 1 deal and you're like, I'm going to double to 2. Okay, well, what are we talking about here, right? So, and I'm just giving you these numbers because I want you to really think about it this year. I want you to think about it and strategize so that you are in this business for the long haul. Okay, so the average growth is build. If you think about somebody in business from 1 to 3 years, they're building. So the average growth for sustainability is 30 to 50%. Okay. The next stage is stabilize. This is, I've been in business for 4 to 7 years. The average growth based on my research for a sustainable business, small business, and I looked that up, is 15 to 25%. 15 to 25%. Okay. Then if we're in scale mode, which most of you are here and you've been in business 8 or more years, the average growth, you guys, it's going to be less than what you think. It's 10 to 20%. Isn't that interesting? So this is just data. You get to do with it what you want. There's no right or wrong. It's just like for those that have gone before us, how did they actually sustain their business for the long haul? So we've got build, stabilize, and scale. Our 1 to 3, the goal average growth to stay in business for the long haul is 30 to 50. So think about that if you've got new team members on your, like Jen, I know you have some new team salespeople. Like this is how you could help them reach their goals, right? We've got then our stabilize 4 to 7, the average is 15 to 25, and then our scale, we're in business 8 or more years, average 10 to 20%. Okay? So think about that based on the goal that you just wrote down. So here's the deal. When you do your GPS, right, start drafting it now. You want to be done by the end of October. I don't want you thinking about it in November, right? We're going to get done with it. Maybe the beginning in November, but after that, we're like, no, like we're done. We're now following the plan. So remember when I taught the GPS in 2025, for those of you that have been around, we talked about when we go and we set our goal and our 3 priorities is really how can we concentrate on one priority per quarter. Per quarter. It doesn't mean you're not doing the other things. For example, because the majority of the people that I have right now here are in real estate, let's say you chose your 3 priorities for 2025 as open houses, social media, and networking. It doesn't mean you're not doing social media, but maybe for the first quarter, you're really systematizing your open houses. You're systematizing it, right? That's the point of why we talked about that last year. So I want you to continue with that mindset. But here's something new for 2026 as I was researching. The GPS, or you setting goals in your business, is not about the goal. It is actually about your habit. It's about habits. Goals are not about the goals. They are about the habits. And I went and I looked back at my notes and I was like, for those of you that have been with me for a while, I was like, when did I last teach the intentional ladder model? It was way at the end of 2024. And so I want to pull this back out and remind you as you think about this GPS that you're creating, because we're going to add a layer to it. What we're going to add is once I get my priorities, I'm going to really define what are the habits that I need to put in place to actually do the system or the S, the strategies. Because it's not about that. It's about the habits. So when we think about the intentional ladder, right now when you wrote down your goal, that is an intention. That is an intention you wrote down. I want to close 36 units. Okay? And remember, the intentional ladder goes like this. It's you set an intention or a goal, because they're pretty much the same thing. Then you have to actually then it has to become a behavior. You have to actually do something, an action. Then it becomes a habit. And oh, by the way, when it becomes a habit, your brain is lazy. It's a habit for you to drive home from the office. And all of a sudden you're like, how did I even get here? That's what we're talking about. We want to create habits within our business. We don't need to think about when we lead gen. We don't need to think about that every Sunday. When we decide to have an open house, our habit is on Wednesdays we post, Thursday we call 10 people, or Thursday we door knock, Friday we put on outsides. The point is, I want you to really think about this GPS that you are creating for 2026 and what are the habits you need to create. Then the next thing is, after it's a habit, it's a practice. It's a practice. Then it becomes second nature. Second nature. Then it becomes who you are. There are a lot of things that you do in your life very successfully, and they are who you are, right? Allison, you are obsessed with clean living. That's who you are, right? That's because it started with an intention and a behavior and a habit, and it's now who you are. Okay? And then it's mastery. That's the intentional ladder. It's intention, behavior, habit, practice, second nature, who you are, and mastery. So you just set an intention, sort of. You're like, I wrote a draft of my goal. And now I'm going to decide what my behavior is, which maybe is a strategy of making, 10 calls per week or whatever. But we want to go make it a habit. I want you to really think about what are the habits you need to create to actually reach your goal. Because it's not about the goal. Okay? So here's an example. My intention, I always give the health as an example because we can all wrap our heads around that, right? My intention is I want to improve my physical health. We all are like, oh, that's my intention. Yay, I'm going to scream it from the mountaintops, okay? The behavior is that I am going to decide to walk 10 minutes every morning. That's my behavior. It is an action. Then after I do that, consistently practicing the behavior for a few weeks, the morning walk becomes a habit because I do not need to think about it. Here's what I want you to hear. Success is a collection of habits, not goals. Your brain wants to conserve energy. It wants to be lazy. It doesn't want to think. It wants to perform a habit to get the specific outcome. And I cannot even believe that I'm teaching this. And the movie that my husband and I watched last night was the second version of Top Gun. The second one, I don't remember what it was called. Did anybody watch the second one? Like there was the first one, and the second one, and you're like, why doesn't Tom Cruise age? Like, what's up with that, right? They're like 20 years apart or 25 years apart. And the interesting thing is, as I was preparing this lesson, the number one thing that he told the son of Goose, I don't remember his name now, it's all drawing a blank, was, I don't want you to think. No thinking as you're flying that fighter pilot. No thinking, no thinking, no thinking. It's because it's a habit. And that's what I want. Oh, wait, no thinking for 2026 because we're going to create habits. So now you've created the habit where now the morning walk becomes a habit. The next thing is then you build on that habit, perhaps adding 10 minutes, right? And maybe you do 10 minutes of meditation or stretching or something like that before the walk. And now it's like a holistic wellness practice. I think sometimes we get to that part and we add more before we've actually made it a habit. We're adding more onto our plate. And then after this, for this example, over time, you don't just see yourself as someone who is trying to be healthy, but you start identifying as a healthy person because now it's your identity, it's second nature, right? This becomes part of your identity. And then the mastery part. Eventually, you achieve mastery in your health journey, right? And now it includes making healthy choices effortlessly. You don't need to think about it. You don't get a second helping. Like it just builds on itself, if that makes sense. Okay. So here's a point I want to make. If you obsessively focus on something, a thing in your life, data research actually proves that anything that a human focuses on for a year, let's say for a year, you decide, and I know we talked in quarters, but let's just say next year you decide you are going to learn to speak Spanish, or you're going to learn to play the piano, or you're going to learn to bake sourdough bread. Imagine for a year if once a week you baked sourdough bread. Probably have to go back to that healthy, intentional model and maybe walk more than 10 minutes. But anyway, It won't have preservatives if you make it at home. It's supposed to be healthier, they say. Okay. Anything that you focus on for a year or two, or two is what the research shows. You will become in the top 5% of that thing. That's insane. So you decide you're brand new in real estate, let's just say, and you're like, okay, someone told me open houses work. I decided for an entire year, I'm only going to focus on that. And I want to be in the top 5% ranking in my office. It will happen. The problem is we're always focusing on too much and we haven't created the habits to get to the goal. Here's the thing. And the reason you'll become top 5% is because one, you're studying it, you're reading about it, you're watching videos about it, you're practicing, you're adjusting, you're iterating, right? You're giving yourself a chance to make the sourdough bread and start over. And you're like, oh, wait, it was more humid out today. I better make note of that, right? You're iterating and you're iterating and you're learning and you're learning and you're studying that one thing. I'm not saying you're going to be in the top 1% to 2%. A lot of times we compare ourselves to the top 1% to 2%. Like if we're looking at an athlete, a football player, as we are in the football season, if a top speaker like me trying to compare myself to Mel Robbins or Oprah, right? Whatever your industry is, whatever it is, the thing that you want to do, maybe I decide I want to like concentrate on singing, right? Are you going to become J-Lo in a year? Probably not. Maybe if you started at the age of 18, but you will be in the top 5%. Those people are in the top 1% to 2%. And the reason you'll be in the top 5% is somebody else will quit. It'll happen. They'll quit because it gets boring when we're trying to create a new habit. Somebody else will get shifted and start doing something else. You will be better than the 90% of the world out there that is constantly moving and changing. Okay? So those are the things I want you to think about. This is just the first conversation, right? We're making a draft of our GPS this year, but when we're doing it, we're deciding not just what we're going to do, not just what the actions are going to be or the measurables of the strategies or the system. It's what is the habit that you need to create in order to roll up to the goal, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And that is the difference between those who don't reach their goals and why you're going to reach your goals. So, okay. Look at that. We got to 11:31. Okay. Sometimes like I don't really like plan this and somehow it ends up being 30 minutes. So, I do want to open it up though for those of you that are here. What are your thoughts or questions as you're starting to think ahead? And one, remember, we're finishing the year strong. We're not giving up yet. And two, we're starting to plan for 2026. What are your thoughts or your questions about what we just went over? And the addition of now talking about habits versus just goals. Anybody?
So I'm trying to figure out what my unit goal will be for next year. And you said, like, if you want to scale your business 10 to 20%, which would, for me, would be from 30 units to 36 units.
Okay.
I will meet my goal of 30 units this year. But also, I'm in the process of finding a part-time admin. So I feel like I could do more than 36, but like, what do I base it off of? You know? And I know I could work backwards of like, what's the revenue goal? And then off of that, what's the unit goal based on like an average commission price.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, totally on that. And what is it about hiring your admin that is important to you? Like what is it that you're looking for?
To help me focus on the things that I'm good at and all like basically like brain dump everything that I have been wanting to implement in my business that I haven't been doing, like brain dump onto them and just have them scale it and have them systemize it versus just having it be like constantly in my head and thinking about, how I could better my systems and organization and client experience.
Yeah. So would you say the reason that you're hiring this person is to buy back time for yourself to be in your gift zone?
Yes, and also like it's not that I don't have the time to do it. I just don't know how to do some of these things.
So some of
Like
it is skill set based.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And
Okay.
and then it just overwhelms me when I think about even trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But question for you, right? And so we'll just give an example of why I hired somebody because I can't stand being in Canva. You guys hear me talk
Right.
about this all the time. It's very overwhelming to me. I'm like, what font? What color? Squares, circles, rounds, whatever. So to me, right, it's a skill set, but at the same time, if I had to learn it, let's just pretend I couldn't hire somebody. If I had to learn it, I could. Just
Mm-hmm.
don't want to. Like, would you say that's fair to say if you had to learn some of these things that are on your mind, you could, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you just don't want to take the time to.
Right. And I like the pain of it is
Yeah,
enough for me to be like, I am more than willing to hire somebody and also just to take back time of me and my husband's uh like for instance the photos in the park event this weekend, he's going to be my helper setting up the tent and setting up everything and
yeah.
like that shouldn't be his job. And thankfully like he is gracious enough to, be more than willing to help, but it's yeah.
Okay, time. So you're buying back time. Sometimes when we're building a business, it's not about making more money, it's about buying back time. You all chose the businesses that you are in because you wanted the freedom. You wanted the F word. The problem is sometimes we get to a point where we don't have the freedom because we're doing all the jobs and wearing all the hats, right? That's the downside of being an entrepreneur. We're the accountant, we're the marketing, now we're the social media, right? Now we're the sales, right? Now we're doing the JOB, whatever the job is, right? And all of those things. And so go into this with the mindset of this is a win if your husband doesn't have to be at the event, you're buying back your time so you can have more coffees with your favorite people. I know that's important to you and you're socializing and you're connecting and you're eyeball to eyeball. You are winning. This, I believe, at least from in how I like to treat my business and how when I'm studying businesses, is especially when we're small businesses or solopreneurs, small entrepreneurs, which all of you are, we don't always get the 4-to-1 return on a person that we hire, right? When we talk about investing and we really look at 4-to-1 return, if I'm going to invest in a CRM system and it costs X, how do I get the 4-to-1 on it? I don't think it's even Steven when we're small businesses because there is return when it comes back to time. And so it's a little harder to equate. So like next year, Allison, the real question to ask you is if you close 36 units next year, and you can kind of predict what your income will be and what your expense will be for the person that you're going to hire, and your husband doesn't have to come to the events anymore unless he wants to. He gets just get to hang out and be a participant versus a worker bee, right?
Mhm.
You get to go home earlier. Certain things you don't need to worry about on the weekend. Is that worth it to you?
Yes.
That's the conversation to have with yourself.
Mm.
Especially when you're going, like going from 30 to 36 units, that's huge growth. And that's the problem in the type of businesses we're all in here on this screen, is we're always like, people just make up numbers. They literally make up numbers.
Mhm.
They come into the room and I'm like, what's your goal next year? And let's say we'll just pick a volume. They're like, I did 4 million. Oh, I'm going to do 8 million next year. I'm like, are you? And I'm not, and I am all about having big dreams. Don't get me wrong, right? We want to think big, but this is for the long haul. And when we talk about growth for 10 plus years for high performance, what did we start with? I've got it written down because I got to remind myself all the time. We are looking to find more balance, more focus. This is why we created GPS. It's for your focus. It's to create your habit and success without burnout. We don't want to resent our businesses. That grinds me. So, yeah. Anybody else? We got about, to respect your time, 6 more minutes. You need a little talk through your habit. Here's the other thing. Have you guys stood up yet today? Some of you are sitting. Have some of you been sitting for hours? Yeah, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Move your body. You want to talk about building a habit? Can you build a habit where you don't sit for more than an hour? Yeah. Shake your booty. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else, my loves? Okay. Well, I thank you for showing up. This is just the first conversation. For those of you that are in flow, go ahead, Lisa. Did you have something to add?
It's
'Cause you're unmuted.
fantastic. It's been a couple months since I've been on, and it's gearing me up and it's making me excited, and I really appreciate it. I love this
Well,
community.
I love when you show up and show your face. Show your face, girls. Okay, so I want to encourage anybody who is in monthly membership, because you get the one-on-one coaching session per quarter. I would book yours sooner than later. Because like now is the time where you want to really make sure you dig in on this. Like start your draft of your GPS. Okay, start it. You got to come with something to the table. Start it, start thinking about it, be purposeful about it. Don't just make up crap that people tell you to make up, right? This is about you and your business. So start that and then make sure you get on the line, because we know, right? In, whatever, 7 short weeks, we're like on to the next year. Like we're done. Bye-bye. We're going to go and enjoy. And the other thing I challenged all my one-on-one clients in my small group is to actually take time off. What is the saying I always say? We are only disappointed when we don't set the expectation. We are only disappointed when we don't set the expectation. Our client is only disappointed when we don't set the expectation. Our family is only disappointed when we don't set the expectation. Right now, as we move into this season, set that expectation with yourself. If you cook Thanksgiving dinner and you like to take off Wednesday, frickin' take off Wednesday. Like, don't be like all mad at yourself because you're like, what am I doing meeting with a client? Well, if you didn't time block it off, what do you expect, right? If you want the Friday afterwards off, take the Friday afterwards off, right? That's why you built this business, right? Or if you think about Christmas time, like we shut her down here at For the Love of from the 23rd until the 1st. And I don't care. That's my business model. And that's what I wanted when I created this business. No, time off. Go put that stuff in your calendar now so you're not all disappointed and you've got some reality checks and okay, when am I actually working? What am I actually doing? So that I don't disappoint myself and then get all guilt-ridden, like, right? That's the worst, when we make ourselves feel guilty and then others around us are disappointed because we're running around like crazy people the day before things. I don't know. I don't cook a Thanksgiving meal. I just show up. But the point is, if I had to, my gosh, I'd have to probably take off 2 weeks before. I have no idea how you figure out how to cook all that stuff and get it done at the same time. I'm constantly perplexed. How are the sweet potatoes done at the same time as the beans, at the same time as the turkey? Like, how does that even work? So anyway, All right. I love you guys. I love this time of year. Reach out. Make sure this will be a really good follow-up. It'll have a couple links and resources in it. And it may be like a re-listen. And then those books that I mentioned, that podcast that I mentioned, if you want any of those resources. And then Allison, you might want to add to your list, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I'd say, yeah, and Jen's shaking her head. I'd say that's a really, really good one. I would say that's a good one to actually get the book. You can listen as well, but it's one of those highlighter type books. It's a very systematic book to read that gives you a system for leverage. It'll give you a system to train, and it really helps you wrap your head around as a small business owner and entrepreneur. When we go to higher leverage and bring on help, it really truly is about the time that we're getting back versus, the revenue. The revenue will come when you get the time, and so will the freedom. So, all right, guys, I'm out. Bye. Thanks for showing up. You're amazing.